If you were to ask most people what their favorite superhero movie of all time is, responses would probably range from Spider-Man 2, Logan, or The Dark Knight. All solid choices. Me, I have to go with the latter. After all, nothing beats watching a resuscitated Batman operating at his absolute best in an upside-down world. The film brings something truly special, with performances from some of the finest actors to ever grace the screen. Michael Caine, Morgan Freeman, Gary Oldman, and the late great Heath Ledger. Simply put, this is the superhero genre at its finest. But what about the amazing Spider-Man? I love that movie. Dennis Leary, a 9-foot-tall lizard, and the bridge scene. Spider-Man. It's messy, but it hits. With a director named Mark Webb, it almost feels like destiny. You know what movie I never thought would make my list of best superhero films? This 3-hour-long slog, directed by a man pretentious enough to title his film The Batman, as if his version is the definitive take on the character. Starring the vampire guy. What is this, Batman or the Twilight? That was my initial impression anyway. I have to confess, I was kind of an idiot. Not much has changed, to be honest, until recently when I sat down and watched it again. Then it hit me. Every detail I had overlooked the first time around. Perhaps because the analytical part of my brain only activates far quicker when a movie I'm watching is actively driving me insane. When something's working, I guess I just let it wash over me. With this rewatch, I found myself falling headfirst into every frame of painting territory. I noticed everything. The framing, the lighting, the sound design, all the subtle details that can elevate a good film into a great one. Roger Deakins, one of the greatest British cinematographers alive, praised The Batman for its amazing cinematography. That's quite a compliment when you consider the movies he's worked on include Fargo, Sicario, Blade Runner 2049, and even Rango, an animated film about a bunch of talking animals, featuring some of the best cinematography out there. Unlike those crazy few who draw a line in the sand between DC and Marvel, I've been following both ever since I was this tall. Sitting in my room reading my first Hulk comic while wearing a Batman t-shirt, still showing up to the cinema for every new movie featuring characters I care about. Across that time, two patterns have stood out. The first is that the Hulk remains one of the most consistently mishandled characters in modern cinema. The second is that Marvel often excels at visual effects and accessible storytelling. Where they often stumble is with their backgrounds. Too many are great big featureless blobs. A lot of them could be used as a backdrop for an Amazon commercial. Soulless, boring, and lacking any real style.
You're all about style, aren't you?
The Batman, on the other hand, really pulls you into its world. The camera does more than just show you Gotham, it throws you into the grime and rain right alongside the Caped Crusader. Water often splashes the lens like the sea itself is bleeding into the frame. There's such a wide variety of shots from aerials to close-ups, sticking to Batman as he glides down to the streets below. There's interior vehicle shots, incredibly immersive tracking shots that follow Batman's grappling gun in action. And then this happens. At first, you might think you're seeing everything from Selina's point of view, but what you're actually seeing is Selina's perspective through Batman's contact lenses, recording and feeding footage back to his laptop, where Batman is observing everything Selina sees. See what I mean? The camera loves to snuggle up close, offering plenty of POVs. Whether it's Batman being a bit creepy, spying on Catwoman, no offense Batman, riding his bike through the streets, or entering a crime scene, bringing you right beneath the cowl, making you
feel like Batman.
As cool as it was to watch Bale's Batman Predator drop down onto Huey and Louie, the stunt that must have made him feel. The lackluster choreography alongside the cameraman becoming trapped inside this bat tornado diminishes much of the enjoyment from Batman's first group encounter, leaving many a Batman fan wondering exactly why they couldn't view one of the most proficient hand-to-hand fighters kicking ass. A train, Batman, Ra's al Ghul, and so many cuts you'd be forgiven for thinking the camera was trying to keep up with a constantly teleporting Nightcrawler, bouncing in and out of frame every 10 seconds. Nobody paid that stuntman enough, nobody dies that way. No really, check this out.
That actually is pretty funny.
Pattinson's Batman takes down the first member of Gotham's underground clown posse, and instead of shipping the scene off to the editing room to be violently diced, we get one smooth take. When he finds himself surrounded by the rest of the angry clowns, rather than zooming in, the camera pulls back, providing a clear view of every punch thrown, thus allowing the viewer to see what the hell is happening. For a film this dark, when color shows up, it's used brilliantly, from focusing your attention
These guys have a little problem with eye contact, don't they?
to leaving you in awe, sometimes hitting you with a moment so strong it sticks with you long after the credits have rolled. While it's nothing new for movies within the superhero genre to make good use of sound, the Batman takes everyday sounds and makes them sound fresh and new. Listen to the slow heavy thud Batman's boots make with each step, accompanied by the soft clinking of the clasps holding his gear together. I'm reminded of how powerful breathing can be, and autonomous action our bodies do every day makes the Riddler that much more terrifying. And quite frankly, that much more effing creepy. The last time I saw a man wearing a mask breathe that heavily was back in... Oh, hi Jeff. A standout is the Batman's new car, emitting an ear-piercing shriek you can feel in your chest. The newly souped-up Batmobile serving as a means of transportation and as a tool for intimidation.
You scared?
The only true downside being that it happens to be an American muscle car.
Why would you want an American muscle? It's rubbish! They're exciting! It's rubbish! It's like a tractor!
Over the decades, Gotham has been interpreted in many ways. Tim Burton's Batman '89 presents a dense, shadowy cityscape full of exaggerated shapes that feel like a cartoon brought to life. Paired with brooding Gothic architecture that puts the Goth back in Gotham, it still stands as one of my favourite interpretations. While Christopher Nolan's Gotham started off strong, painting a picture of a city where on one side you have the clean modern skyline where all the rich people live, with the Wayne Tower monorail standing out in contrast against the dense claustrophobia of the Narrows. Tight maze-like alleys and narrow crime-ridden streets of a decaying neighbourhood, with homes packed on top of each other. These poor sods can't even dry their laundry. As Nolan increased his focus on his grounded take on Batman, he stripped his movies of what should have remained a crucial character, Gotham itself. By the time The Dark Knight released, the city resembled nothing more than Chicago, realistic to a fault and easily interchangeable with any big city, feeling oddly alienating for the Caped Crusader, especially in The Dark Knight Rises where Batman looks strangely out of place. Listen Jim, is this really the guy who's going to save this city? When your setting's this grounded, it's somewhat challenging to buy into the idea that a ninja with bat ears can roll over rooftops in a
Black tank.
If you lived for 1,000 years and only watched Batman Forever once, you'd never forget Barbara Ling's retro-futuristic vision of Gotham, discarding realism in favor of spectacle, a city drenched in neon rooted in the iconography of the 1960s television series, influenced by the Neo-Tokyo of Akira and the Machine Age, interspersed with towering statues that loom over highways and rooftops like disapproving Greek gods. This Gotham is completely unhinged. It feels like it walked into a bar, ordered 3 Bloody Marys, and got totally smashed. Todd Phillips, 1970s New York. No new Batman film is complete without Gotham, and Matt Reeves' take feels like it was heavily influenced by the animated series, All Shadows, Corruption, and Endless Reign. The city feels modern enough to exist in our world, yet smothered in crime, grunge and gangsters. Neon signs flicker over trash-littered streets, while institutions once meant to help lie broken and abandoned.
Fuck poor people.
Banks are defaced and broken into by local hoodlums. Over on Gotham's graphically graffitied metro, a gang of IRL kickstreamers caked in clown makeup are self-snitching on themselves. Poor sod. A guy in a spooky, scary Halloween mask holds up a convenience store, and the police don't seem much better. The film lays all this bare in its opening 10 minutes. The Batman's Gotham doesn't just look like a city in decline, it feels like one that's already lost. Gotham is, without question, one of the film's greatest elements, showing us exactly why a barely stable man who spends his nights scrambling across rooftops, while dressed up as a flying rodent, is needed to save this version of Gotham. The city's far from the only thing that's new. Pattinson's Batman comes equipped with a brand new batsuit. Like the souped-up Batmobile, the suit is one part form and one part function, both protection and intimidation, reflected in how Batman moves. Slow, deliberate steps with heavy footfalls that amplify his intimidation factor. When he's done menacing, that's when function comes into play. Unlike previous on-screen Batsuits, which have hardly looked or even been that functional,
well, the suit's brutal. You know, at the time, particularly, it weighed like, 60 pounds. And I bolted into this suit. I can't move. I'm Batman.
No. Comic accurate, still no. Looks cool, but also no. This one gets a fat dub. Pattinson's thick armor serves the purpose of tanking as much fall damage, electricity, shotgun blasts, and explosions as humanly possible. Matt Reeves is like this Michelin star chef who took all the best ingredients from previous Batman movies, improved the recipe, and added the final secret ingredient, Batman. This film was about the Batman. How about that? In the Michael Keaton movies,
Now you want to get nuts?
the Caped Crusader spreads his wings and swings across the screen for around 64 minutes. Batman Forever gives us 44 minutes. Then there's the Batman, where the titular character is on screen for approximately 129 minutes. That's roughly 70% of the runtime focused on Batman himself. To really pull this into focus, Christian Bale's Batman clocks in at 151 minutes across his entire trilogy.
This is something else.
Pattinson is terrific in the role, playing an emotionally withdrawn Bruce Wayne, who only cares about his life as Bruce insofar as it serves the Batman persona. He's immature and arrogant, somewhat echoing another rage-fueled depiction of the character. The two share more than a 2-year timeline and a habit of punching criminals in the face. They are both consumed by their personal war on crime. Their mission as Batman is placed on a pedestal elevated above everything and everyone, until they're forced to realize that just because their parents are pushing up daisies doesn't mean they have nothing left to lose. Made painfully clear when Bruce's meticulous butler, Alfred Pennyworth, ends up the victim of a madman.
I have left enough life in him for some final words. If you hurry. Alfred!
Although Robert's Batman is still a dick to Alfred afterwards. The film makes it apparent Pattinson has never stopped to consider how he might use the resources of his company or his immense wealth to help build a better Gotham, or even develop new technology for the betterment of society. A flaw? Far from it. Rather, it presents an opportunity for Bruce to grow. When it comes to most big screen appearances of the character, the first half of Batman Begins being a notable exception. Once the suit goes on, character development tends to stagnate.
I'm Batman!
Yes, we know.
Events happen to and around Bruce. The lady he doesn't live with may be exploded by the Jongleur. Nevertheless, the character of Bruce Wayne remains as unchanging as a marble statue. Matt Reeves and Pattinson breathe new life into what could have quite easily been another static figure. Pattinson's presence feels distinct from all those who donned the cowl before him. As Batman, he glides almost weightlessly through crime scenes like a phantom, observing every small detail, detecting in real time. Out of the suit, he stands around awkwardly, lurching over people, and his voyeuristic POVs make him seem detached from the people around him. When brunch is served at Wayne Manor, we glimpse Bruce during daylight hours, skin as pale as a ghoul, with hair long enough to fall past his eyes, visibly recoiling from the sunlight hitting his face, as if he were an effing vampire. His appearance and mannerisms perfectly capture someone who's adopted the lifestyle of a nocturnal predator. All of this behavior makes him come off as a little creepy, and nobody comments on this. Back in The Dark Knight, Nolan uses the Joker to outright tell you how strange Batman is. In a later scene from that same movie, he has a bunch of cops casually hanging around, waiting to crack open a beer with Batman. Matt Reeves leans heavily on visual storytelling. You can see how unsettled Batman makes those around him. No one really wants to be near him, including the people he saves.
Please don't hurt me.
They're more afraid of him than the criminals are. It's great. You know how we all view Spider-Man as this amazingly friendly superhero with a heart of gold, operating mostly in the daytime, web slinging around in bright primary colors, saving old ladies from becoming pavement pizza. Oh, and he saves cats too. Can't forget those. Actually, screw cats.
Shame on you.
Save some dogs instead. Be a real hero.
Cute! I promised not to eat it.
Imagine it's year one. Spider-Man is relatively unknown. Peter Parker doesn't work for the Daily Bugle yet, so there aren't any peak quality pictures of him floating around. Forget about the key to the city. You are a citizen of New York who's heard stories about this spider guy. You hear he shoots webs at people, can lift cars over his head.
I'm glad you're not one of those cops that rides a horse.
And while listening to the radio, maybe you heard that some guy he clocked ended up at the local emergency room. You've just finished a late shift at Joe's Pizza when you decide to take a shortcut through the park. And unknown to you, these two suspicious-looking individuals are about to run up on you from behind, when suddenly a dark shadow comes flying out of the bushes, pouncing on the figures behind you. You can barely see this figure thanks to the lack of illumination and how quickly he moves. But you can hear the combination of thuds, whips, and pained grunts. Imagine how freaked out you'd be. I'd be running out of there faster than Wesley Snipes evading the IRS. Now take that mental imagery, combine it with my words from earlier, then apply it to a man who dresses in black, only comes out at night, brute forces his way through problems, jumps people from the shadows, carries a taser, and has definitely sent many individuals to the ER. Think of those hospital bills. The horror. This is America, people.
God bless him.
The way Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson built this early vengeful Batman is perfect. What helps this interpretation stand out more is how he narrates his own thoughts. That's a new one, and I'm here for it. The drifter persona he adopts to keep a low profile, allowing him to blend in with a crowd, is a swell idea. It helps show how an early Batman would gather intel on when and where crime is happening, before changing into the Batsuit. With his more established counterparts, we've all seen James Gordon fire up the good old bat signal whenever Two-Face breaks into the Bank of Gotham, and I figure most of us simply assume Batman has a network of informants he goes to, while back at home in the Batcave he set up some high-tech equipment, which he uses alongside his keen intellect to deduce where Gotham's criminal element will strike next. They're all probably hacking the GCPD anyway. Pattinson conveys emotion remarkably well while wearing a mask, something that's incredibly difficult to pull off. It's often said the face is a picture of the mind with the eyes as its interpreter. Thank you, Marcus Tullius Cicero. That's how we as human beings read emotions, and can tell whether someone is happy, sad, or somewhere in between. Whenever an actor's moneymaker is obstructed, their primary means of portraying emotion is off the table, forcing them to convey nuance and meaning through their voice,
Even their voice.
and body language. Depending on the part, another option available is pumping that stoicism up to 10. Unless it's being played for laughs, the most emotional moments tend to happen after the obstruction is removed. Since there's only so much an actor can do while wearing a mask or helmet, that's including the aid of CGI by the way, it's the reason you see Tony Stark and half the denizens of the Marvel Galaxy popping those nanotech helmets off every 5 minutes. Riddle me this, Batman. Who carries a question mark cane and leaves riddles in his wake? The answer, of course, is the Riddler. Gone are the days of skin-tight green unitards, and nuclear red hair emitting enough radiation to warm up a Siberian winter. Paul Dano's Riddler arrives with a full face mask, duct tape, and a carpet tucker. Gritty, unsettling, and far afield from any portrayal we've seen before. I won't claim this as my absolute favourite. Apologies, that spot on my mantle goes to Arkham's Wally Wingert.
Riddle me this, Bat fans.
One more thing, Eugene, give me that. If I ever find one of these lying around again, I swear to fucking God, I will stop being so polite. Get the fuck out of my sight before I demolish you.
Here the Riddler man serves as a cracked reflection of what Bruce could have been. Both sustain themselves with a diet of vengeance, both operate in a very similar fashion, observing their targets from afar before striking from the shadows. The key difference being, one has an unhealthy obsession with bats, while the other is a Twitch streamer you can actually understand. When he's eventually apprehended, unlike Bruce who's mostly unchanged both in and out of the suit, Riddler, stripped of his anonymity, is simply this regular guy. Someone you could walk by on the street every other day and never notice. Not only has Edward Nashton been stripped of his physical menace, he's deluded himself. There's this excellent novel Inferno written by Alex Irvine. Between the pages there's a tale about Batman, naturally, the Joker, and an up-and-coming firebug-type costumed crazy named Enfer, who's become quite captivated by the Joker, living out a fantasy of how it will play out when the pair finally meet. And when the reality of the Clown Prince of Crime fails to align with said fantasy, Enfer really doesn't take it well. Much the same happens here. Edward Nashton has dreamt up an idealized version of Batman.
God, look at you.
I've been really trying.
So, when Batman rejects him,
No, 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 no!
Also, can we take a moment to appreciate how the main villain of this film, instead of getting into a 1v1 with Batman, spends most of his time on a phone screen? Seriously, I tried to remember the last time this had happened, and my mind came back to me with High Chancellor Adam Sutler from V for Vendetta. Edward's backstory is used effectively, highlighting exactly how fortunate Bruce Wayne is compared to the majority of Gotham's orphans. Not only did he not have to face many of the same hardships with a fortune and his future taken care of, he's never truly been alone. Alfred has always been there for Bruce, no matter how much Bruce may take that for granted. This film's not just about a rich kid with issues. Well, actually.
You think you can threaten my mother?
It's really about challenging Bruce's perspective, which the film does often by placing him in situations and in front of people who do exactly that. At times, Bruce sneers down at others with an unearned sense of moral superiority, despite never having lived under the kinds of conditions that force everyday people into making choices they wouldn't have under better circumstances. Selina was forced to survive by any means she could. Riddler was pushed into a very different life than the one he may have lived had he not been orphaned. He looks up to Batman because Batman is the embodiment of what he and his followers aspire to be, agents of vengeance. A theme woven throughout the film which connects and traps several characters in a cycle, until strands of that thread are ultimately cut by Batman. And while the film explores several themes, the one I want to emphasize is not vengeance, but rather death and rebirth. In the final act, we watch as vengeance dies and Batman is born, bringing me back to this line from earlier. I'm vengeance. And here at the end, I realized the title I thought at first was pretentious is quite apt. This is where Bruce steps into becoming the Batman, not the one we all know and adore. Not yet. He's still got plenty of space to grow, and who knows, maybe he'll surpass that gold standard. After all, Batman's been constantly reinterpreted since 1939, with each new writer further refining the Batman mythos.
City lights going high, people moving hustle by, beats pumping through my veins, riding on these urban planes.